Welcome to the EZCODE Projects Series Toaster video number 11. In this video, we'll review our code base and look for areas we can clean up and reduce. If you have not done so already, please complete the previous EZCODE Projects Toaster Series videos. Those of you that have done so may continue. Remember that all you have to do is type as I do. Just pause the video or slow down the speed when needed to catch up. Typing out the code is the best way to learn programming. Understanding comes later. Let's begin by using VS Code to open our toasters.js file. So go ahead and grab your VS Code, open the Explorer tab. If it's not already open, click Open Folder, Projects, EZCODE, Toaster, and let's see, that's the directory we want right there. And now from here, we'll open up the Explorer if it's not already open. And let's just get rid of these. Although I think, what did I say? I said the toasters.js. So here we go with the S at the end. Let's open up that. Okay, let's go ahead and look at the initialize function. And I can already see, let's see where we're at here. We have, let's see, go back to code.js. While we're in here, we're just looking around and we're saying, here's our stop. So while we're at it and we're in the toasters, and I can already see this is a copy paste that didn't get deleted, at least on my end. I don't know if I mentioned that in the last video, but it was during our cleanup. So let's go ahead and get rid of this stop function. You can see it's grayed out because it's not being called or used, and it shouldn't be used here, but we copy pasted the code.js file to get this file up and running. So go ahead and save that work so we know that's been taken care of. Now let's focus on the initialize function. And we can see that time is passed into each timeout below, right here, which primarily involves the toaster, except the set header count. So set header count, that's about toasters, where the time is really the orders based on each toaster. So, which has to do with each toaster. So this is each toaster, and then set header count is how many toasters. So we can see one of them should probably be separated into the toaster file, while set header count should be isolated here with toasters. So it's time to play with some ideas, because with programming, once we know what we're doing, it's so easy to play with new ways of shaping our code to make it more precise, faster runtime, easy to understand and maintain. So if you thought, maybe you had a big actual mechanical machine, you'd have to invent each part that you want to put in there. It would take time. Programming is one of those things. It's very easy to sculpt and redo our machine at any point that we want to. So let's look and see, can we move some of this to the toaster or all of it? Let's consider that as we look through our ideas. All ideas are welcome here. However, all must be tested. If each idea adds value, and removed if not. When I'm not sure on how to proceed, but I know I need to make a change, I first just write it out as how I would want it to appear before I create any actual logic. So we can see that most of this initialize function, I'm just going to close my Explorer tab. Here we go in the initialize. Here's the scope of the function, all the way down to my line 44. So let's see, what do we got here? We have the initialize logic. We can move it to the toaster except the set header count, which occurs after all the toast is toasted per toaster. So how could we say to do something and when done? So we need to submit something, wait for it, and then when it's done to come back again, and then we could run the set header count method. Can you think of anything that we've used already where we had to wait for something and then do something? This is the beauty, and if you recall, the promise that we made in the toaster class. Well, what if there was another one? So how could we write out the initialize logic now? So let's just we'll just start here for now. We'll say, let's see, we'll go underneath here, and this is where we're going to put our pretend, let's pretend this exists. So what if we said toaster, toast, just like we did before, and passed in the orders, but now we said then, and then takes a function call. So we just make an arrow function, we say call this function, and we can do inline because we really don't have anything else to do here. So in this case, this is after it's been toasted. So we have after you're toasted, what do we do then? So we look down here and it says set header count -1. So let's go ahead and let's type that out, set header count to -1. So as we look at this, it reads nice and we still allow us to do some work in this file after the toaster has completed its work by the use of the then method. So what do we have? Toaster toast orders, then set header count -1. This is very terse and very readable. Everyone can understand what's going on. We don't have to have a bunch of notes. We know we're talking about the individual toaster. We know we're not talking about all the toasters. And we know what action we're telling the toaster to do. The toaster, hey, toast. And we know what we're passing. We're passing in the orders. And then set header count to -1. So let's make this a reality. Let's open the toaster.js file, but next to this open file. So we're going to go split screen again. And to do that, we're just going to come over here. I'm going to open my Explorer, and I want the toaster.js file. I'm going to close this again. And we just have to have whatever file we want open to the right, and just click Open Right. And now we can close it on the left, so we just have two tabs. We know what we're talking about, toasters and toaster. All right, so what do we have to do? We don't have to do much to set up our new promise. Well, that's a promise. So in the toast method, let's move some things around. So let's go ahead and go to toast. So here we go. We got toast right here. And let's see what we're going to do here. We're going to have a lot going on. I'm just going to open this up a little bit so we can see what's going on. I have the toast method here. And the first thing we're going to do is let's just do a renaming up here, because now we're just going to say group. And then because we want, I want to use the word orders again. So I don't care what's coming in. It's a group. It's a group of whatever, a group of orders. It's close enough. It's good enough for what we're doing. And we're going to say const orders. So we're going to shape it and we're going to say array is array. This would be group. Then we're going to select the group. So this same thing here, I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. And do you see the two places I put it here? This is now group and group to match this. And then we're just going to grab this right here and we're going to take it out. Everything inside of the parentheses for the process order is now going to be here. And I'm going to put a semicolon at the end and just put a little space in between here. So make sure you get this line exactly typed. Now we're saying, and we're just sucking it out here because this is going to get too long. So we're like, look, this is a bit of work we're doing. If you're an array, then we know what you are. You're an array of orders. Just assign it to this. If you're not, we're going to take the initial setting and stick it into an array. And so orders is always going to be an array of one or more orders. Now, let's open up a line here. I'm just going to get rid of that white space here for extra space. And then we're just going to do this process. Now, to do this, all we have to do is say return new promise. Oops, capital promise. It's a class. And in the parentheses, I'm just going to go to the end here. Let's do all this now. I have parentheses here. And now we just need to go here. And with a promise, it gets two things. It gets two items. It gets a resolve and it gets a reject. We're not going to use the reject or rejection. We're just going to do arrow function over, and we're going to say this process, and then we're going to take in the orders. So I have two things I'm going to be passing in here. We have orders, comma, resolve. So the process itself will know when to resolve because we're just passing it in. So we're just doing some light work over the process method, which is a private method to this toaster.js. So easy peasy. We have toast here. We're going to return a promise, And then we're going to take the callback that we give to the promise. This is a callback function, and it already provides us with the two arguments, which is resolve and reject. And we're just going to pass the resolve into our process. And so we're going to need to update our process method, and we'll do that here in a second. So let's go ahead and find our process method, which I think is up here. Here's our process. Now remember, we took orders, in which case we're just calling it list right now here. And we're going to do two things. We're going to call the resolve argument something else here. We're just going to say completed. We're going to call it that. So this completed variable will be the resolve function. And already we're going to have to put this async here. So I had already had that on there. So let's just look at that for a second, because we can see, oh, actually that was already there. I'm confusing this with another one. We have async because we have the await inside the process. That was from another video. This is the completed that's coming in for this process. And we just need to find the for loop. And when we're done with the for loop, I'm going to come back down here. And I can see I got some line things going on here. So this is, again, if you have these things from copy paste and over code, I just want to move those over so my lines, I can see an extra line here. So I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to move that over. So now all the lines go down to a closing tag, with the exception of this one. So if this is the same for you, go ahead and update these lines to keep it nice and neat. And let's see, we should be okay there. I have one more item right here. You can see the double lines, get rid of those. Okay, now we know where we're going here. So we can say end of the for loop, scroll down, I see it's highlighted, and I'm just going to go empty space, and I'm going to say completed. And that's going to run, that resolve function is going to run when this for loop is done, which triggers the promise to return to the then. So where are we at here? Just going to close this. Oops. I was thinking I'm going to close up the wrong thing here. So, okay, so here's our completed. Now let's look at our initialize function again. Okay. Also, while we're at it too, if we want to pass something back, so if we go back over here, we have the then here, and there's no arguments. We're not using anything over here. But if we said argument 1, and then we came over here and we said butter and toast. So here argument 1 would be butter and 2 would be toast. So that's how we can pass things back into our callback. We don't need to do that, but I want you to know that's available. So how could you crosstalk between different things? So go ahead and take out the butter and toast, leave that there. And now that we know that's possible, we're not going to use it, but we're just going to call completed to complete our outer promise. And let's go back to, I'm going to go ahead and save this for now, and we're just going to slide this back over so that we can look at our initialize function. We can say, let's see, we derive time from the orders that are passed in. So we can see that. Let's move that into our process method, as now we have orders there and we need to set timeout. We need to set timeout our completed method to allow for how long we should await until completed. That's going to make sense here in a second, okay? So what we're saying is we're going to be moving this logic here. And to do that, we need time, which is done here. And we know that time is based off orders. And we know that the orders are passed into toast, which means we can move all of this outside of here. So we're going to go back into the process method here on the right. Let's see if we can find it here. And let's see, this should be before we get in here. So we're just going to go ahead. I'm going to grab this entire line. So I'm just going to cut it out, enter, and I'm going to put it at the top line of our process method. Okay. Notice that we pass in list here, but it's called orders in our pasted logic here. Let's change our list to orders now because it makes more sense and there is no collisions in the existing words that we have. So at one time, I don't know why I put list here, but it might have been that we were using orders somewhere, but in our cleanup, things have changed a bit. So if I open this up and I say, okay, well, let's just look and see how many there are first. I can see there's four. There's the top argument, there's line 17 for me, 23, and then this is ignored because it has nothing to do with it. It's just found inside of the word. So there's really just three. We can see them all here, so that's a safe change. So for me, I'm just going to select all three, but you can go in there and do it just one at a time. Here, here, and here. That's going to be orders now. So this will work. Now that, let's see, we have this has been changed, list has been changed to orders. Let's change our list to orders now because, oh wait, we already did that part right there. Now let's copy paste our initialize function set timeout and wrap our completed function call near the bottom. Okay, so what are we doing there? We're going to go over here. What does that mean? We're going to do something inside of here. So it's right here where the completed is. I'm just going to make a little bit more space there because that's where we're going to put it. And what we have to copy over is the set timeout here. Everything else should be okay. So we know what we have here. I know this is part of the function up here. So I'm just going to take these lines, I'm going to cut them out, and we'll clean that up in a minute. I'm just going to stick them over here. Okay, so I can already see that I have some pasting issues. Let me go ahead and take care of those now. There we go. There we go. Okay, so what do we have here? Let's see, we got a little bit of a mess over here. Let's go ahead and take care of these extra lines because we don't need those now. I know this is hard to see here with all these things going on. So I can see I got an extra line here again. Just our code editor being super helpful. Okay, so we have the toaster-nator, we append the toast, we run the toaster, set header count, and then we have this right at the bottom. So let's leave that here like this, get this exactly the same for now. We don't have to save it yet. And we'll come back over here to finish our work. So the completed really doesn't need to happen until we say that this timeout is done. And now we have time in our function up here. So we have what that means. And we have our set timeout. It gets cleared in here. The thing we don't need is the set header count because we're doing that here in the then, remember? So we're just going to take the completed. So take the completed down here. We're going to move it into the set header because we don't need that one. Now I'm just looking at lining up everything. And so we have the same thing that we had over here, the same set timeout. The only thing we did was we removed set header count because it doesn't exist in this file. And we hit completed. We don't have to pass anything in. Now this promise over here will run the toast orders and the timing for our animation. And then it'll come back and say, and run this method, whatever's in it. And currently it's set header count -1. So that should all be working. So let's go ahead and save our work here in the toaster file. So I'm going to go ahead and save the work here. That's all done and taken care of. Let's just scroll through here. So you got a pause event. This is what we added down here at the bottom. We moved completed inside of it, and we got rid of set header count. And then up here, the only thing we did is we added the orders reduced to get our time variable inside the process method. And then we changed orders. So this was already orders on the copy paste. We pass in orders now instead of list, and we changed this from list.length to orders.length. And here we just said, instead of list, it's orders, calling the index. So that's the only changes we made here. I'm going to go ahead and close this file out. And now we're back into the toasters.js file. So let's see, we save our work in this file. Let's see, we did that and we're moving over. So in the toasters.js, let's see, we have our set header count already set here. And then, so we set it to 1. So we come in here and we say, look, toaster-nator, make a toaster, append the toaster. I'm going to put a little space in between here. Toaster toast orders. Let's make another one here so we can read it nice. Set header count 1 and then toaster toast. So we can see something's going on here if you can already see it. Right? We don't need to call this twice. We wrote this to imagine what we were going to make. Then we went and made it. And now this is the toast function, and it's okay to keep it here. Let's just get rid of this one. So toaster toast orders, that won't work anymore because it's a promise. So we come in, we create the toaster-nator, we append it to the DOM, we set the header count to 1, and then we say toaster toast. And then when it's done, it'll set header count to -1 for us. So while we're at it, let's rename our set header count because we know we're setting the header count, but what are we really doing? We're renaming as we're going through here. So let's say it's set toasters count. So again, a nice development trick is just to highlight this. I do Command Copy, Command F to open up the search palette, and I do a Command Paste because I like keyboard shortcuts, and you should too. But you can also go in here and let's see how you would do it. It's got to be up here somewhere. Find, most likely. There's our Command F. It gives me the shortcut, and there it is. And then you can paste in whatever you want. On Windows, it's Control, usually Control C for copy, Control X for cut, Control V for paste. So we have this here. We have one, there's the actual method definition, and then here's the calls to it. 1, 2. So we have 3 altogether. So we're just going to go here and we're going to say, you know what, this is going to be an easy one to do this way. So we're going to do lowercase set header count is now going to be toasters plural count. And then I'm going to use this one. I don't like to go through and do all of them at the same time, replace all. I like to look at each one just to make sure. I know line 29 just changed. That was correct. The other line just changed, and then the definition itself. And it's not grayed out, so we know we're calling it right. I'm going to close this out and just scroll down. So we did get that right. Okay, that's looking really good. Let's review our file, and we can remove any console logs or extra spaces so that the file is now complete. So let's just go to the top and let's look around here. Do we have any weird extra spaces? This is all looking good. I can see the indentation here, so I'm just going to fix that for my file. Go ahead and fix that if you want to. Make it look nice. It's easier to troubleshoot. I don't see any extra lines here. I'm happy with the lines here. I see my semicolons are good. Here, I can see I got an extra space or tab. I'm just going to go back over there. And then everything looks good. So that means, let's see. I think we got rid of all the console logs. We can also reduce. Okay, so we have one more line to reduce. So let's go back up to the top. And we're just looking here. And we're saying, what's going on here? I mean, that's fine the way that it's looking right here, but we can actually write it just so you know that we can do it this way. What are we doing? We're taking this value and we're adding it to the toaster count because we need to keep a running value of that, which is why we use the let keyword. That means we can change it at runtime. Where const, we wouldn't change the value. It would be the same over and over again. The only difference between these two. Both of them make a variable. So here we go. And then we take it down here and we say, hey, you're also going to be the inner HTML. So just to practice and know that what we can do, I'm going to copy this so it stays. I'm going to come over here and get rid of the semicolon and make a space and do another equal and then paste. So this is going to get assigned to toaster count, which is going to get assigned to inner HTML. And now we can get rid of the entire line. For me, it's line 11. But see what we're doing here? Equals and equals. Whether you should do something or you shouldn't do something, you need to know that you can do something first. Now in this case, it's no big deal. It's a normal assignment. So we have 2 left-hand assignments here, this one first and then this one, which is great. That's what we're looking to do. And I just want you to be aware that it's possible. So let's save our work and move to the toaster file again. So let's go ahead and save this. And we're going to go over here to the toaster file without the S. And let's go ahead and clean up any console logs that we might have here. So I'll just do a search. I don't see any console logs that are in this file, so I'm going to close that out. And any extra space, let's see. I'm looking through here. How's all my lines? The space is fine. These are all lined up. That looks okay. And if we go down, if you see any yourself, go ahead. I always do some spaces in between things, that's fine. So single spaces in between a lot of different expressions that are going on just to keep the madness at bay. And it's looking pretty good in this file. I didn't see anything else I don't have to save. We're all done. If you haven't, saved the file if you made some changes. And let's open up the orders.js file. Again, I'm going to go to the top and let's just look for console logs. There is some console logs, just one. So I'll stay at the top and we'll go down from here. I got my semicolons. We've got, this all looks good. The lines look good. Okay, we got here, I'm going to get rid of the clock tick. We don't need that now. I don't need any of this commented pseudocode. We don't need that now. The spaces are gone. This looks good. We got spaces in here. This all looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and save this file. Command S or Control S. And all right, we are about done. But first, let's add just a bit more bling to our application, like bling bling. So if you know what I mean. First, let's add our signature to our work. We need people to know who wrote this. And that was us, because we typed everything out. So we did so much, and it deserves our name on it. So let's go ahead. I'm going to close these files out so we can focus. And we're going to open up the view HTML file. Okay. Now we're going to go, let's see, where we're going to put it. We're going to put it up here, and we're going to make a few changes here to our toaster-nator. So right here is where we're looking. So let's just go ahead and let's put a space here. This is where we're working, right here. We're going to redo this one. Okay, so we're going to delete this line here in a second. I'm just going to open this up a little bit more, and we're going to say div class, and we're going to give it a CSS class of title. We're going to open up that div. Now we're going to put in another div, and this one's going to say class application, and inside of it is just the toaster-nator from above. And now we're not going to open up this div. We're just going to go right below it for a sibling, and we're going to say div class equals signature, just like that. Open up the div, and we're going to put two divs inside of here with no classes. We're going to be div created by, and what we're going to do here actually is we're going to do an ampersand NBSP semicolon, and that's just a way to force HTML to put a white space there or a blank space. And then we're going to enter div, and I'm going to put EZCODE, but you should put your name here. So if your name is Jane Doe, that's what's going to go there, created by. Mine is EZCODE, and that's it for our signature. So 1 second, we're just going to go up here, and we're going to take away the old toaster-nator. I'm going to delete a couple lines there, and we'll just keep this with a couple lines spacing here. So we got title, toaster-nator. So we're going to go into CSS, and we're going to put this CSS class, this one, and this one. We're going to see those things doing something. But first, let's save our work for this file. Open up the style CSS. And let's scroll. Let's see, this would be in the header. So where's the header at? Here we go. Here's the header. There's our dashboard in the header, and here's the span. So this is what we did have. So let's leave that here for a second. That's the span we got rid of, and we're just going to make our classes here. So we're going to say title, enter curly braces. Right? That gets our class going. It's going to be a display flex, and then we're going to do flex direction column because we want it sitting on top of each other. And then we're going to align items center. Okay, that's easy enough. And then we had a sibling div, and it was class application, and enter curly braces. This is where we're going to put the span. So go ahead and copy paste the 3 lines. We want those 3 lines in application. So that's how it would look. And now we can get rid of the span altogether. There we go. Now we know this is opening and closing. That looks good. Now we got to do one more thing for our signature. And to do that, we're just going to open up a couple lines here, and we're going to say signature, CSS class with a dot in the beginning, enter curly braces. Now we have a display, but we're going to do inline flex, which means don't do your normal flex row. Keep these things in line together. That would be the created by and the signature. We're going to hit enter. We're going to hit justify content. I misspelled something here. Oh, it already corrected for me, so I'm going to grab it. Justify content. And in there, we're going to say center. And then the next line is going to be align items, center. Nothing new here. We'll memorize these. We're also going to do a little bit different font. So let's do a font family of cursive. Oops. I did not spell that right. Cursive. So that looks right. Okay, we have cursive. And then we have font. We're going to give a font size of 28 px and a line height of 0. Okay, now that we have that, oops, here we go. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to enter. And now we're going to talk to the last div. And we're going to say div, last child, open the curly braces, and we're going to say font weight is 600. And that's just to embolden our signature without having to embolden the initial created by div. Okay, make sure you have, these are all the changes. So we have the signature class, the application class, and the actual title class. There's the top of it, and here's the bottom, and our span that had this housed is now gone. So that's great. Let's go ahead and save our work here. And this looks good. So let's turn this up to some awesome crazy. Okay, so what we're about to do, a little bit crazy. Okay, and there might be a little bit of work you got to do on your own end to get this thing working. But I'm going to show you how to do it. So let's turn this up to awesome crazy. So for the next step, we'll need to record some audio. Now, I can't show you how to do that, but there are so many ways to do it. But in the end, what we want is a short audio clip of either MP3, OGG, AAC, or WAV. So first, let's just go over here and see what we're going to do. I'm just going to move this over here, and I'm going to open up the browser. And then we're just going to type in audio, and we're going to say MDN for Mozilla Developer Network. Oh, the embedded audio element. Let's check that out. That's what we want to do here. If you didn't know that you can put audio in here. Let's see, they got something here. Awesome. It says it was a T-Rex. I didn't know what that was. I thought it was a balloon. I don't know. Anyways, they have a way to play audio here. You can see that there is an audio tag. And then just like an image, we can see a source property, which is the file path to the file itself. They're doing a .mp3. That might be super easy for you to create. For me, I used an iPhone application called Memo, which is just automatically on the phone. And I recorded a short audio clip of me speaking with the word toaster-nator. It will be best to just say that word for now, as many audio clips will fire at once you complete this step. So something short, just do toaster-nator for now. You can always change the verbiage later and do what you wish. In fact, you can have several files in there and just point to each one when you want to. Or you can have several files and you can make an array and you can randomly select what audio is going to do. But for now, just say toaster-nator, however you want to say that. And we'll test out our idea here. So you have to create a quick clip. However, you can and then add it to our source directory. So we're going to see that here. I'm going to show you me doing that. Okay, so what does that mean? These formats. Let's see if I can find formats. Media container file types. Let's go there. So OGG. I don't know what that stands for. Actually, I'm not familiar with that media type. OGG. We're going to leave that for now. If you know what it is, you can use it. Let's see. These are for media. Let's see if we can find audio. There's some of the audio codes. There is a lot going on here. Let's see. Is it here? Audio format types. Well, we were in here. Okay, so I know there should be wave in here somewhere, and I remember coming across this section. It's got to be in here somewhere. So we have, let's see, AAC. This one, when I did the memo, it gave me a file that was a .mp4, which apparently is AAC. Again, there's some things going on that I don't know all the lingo for the audio, but if you stick with an MP3, an AAC, or a WAV file, if you can create that, you're going to be okay. So MP3 is probably the easiest. MP4 is what I'm using right now, and I think it's the updated MP3s. And then WAV files, the traditional, like straight off a CD type thing. So you need to create an audio, you need to convert it. You can do it online. There's a lot of tools to, I don't know what you're recording it as, so I don't know what you're starting with, but there's tools online to convert the different formats. Ultimately, what we're going to do here, close this out, is we need a file, and it needs to be a certain file. So let's just go back over here, and I'm going to bring my file in. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and close the style CSS out in the view HTML for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up, for Macs, it's the Finder. However you do it there's a name for the place you do it for Windows, and it's no big deal. I'm going to go and open 2 of these so that I can show what I'm doing here. Because I want to drag it over here, which I think I can just drag it over, but I just wanted to show you if you can't do that. We have projects, EZCODE, toaster, and we want to be in the source directory. So here I have it open. It needs to go in here because that's where we're going to point to it. I'm going to come up here and I'm going to find the file, which I have downloaded here, and I have toaster-nator MP4, and I'm going to put it right there. I don't know if it's possible to put this in the YouTube thing. I'll try and do that. If you see it in the description, it'll be there for use. If not, you just got to get this recorded somehow. So if we go in here, I don't want to play it. We'll just have it be a surprise when we bring it out here. But toaster-nator, there it is. I just named it that way, and you can see I guess it's .m4a, which I believe is the AAC format. So I know this one already works. I have it in my file now. I can close out my Finder windows and I look, there it is. It's right here. So I don't want to open it, but what we do want to do is start connecting this. So how do we connect this to what we have? So go ahead, and if you haven't made this yet, pause the video, go make this clip. It should only take you a few minutes to do, and get it to your source directory. Now, once you're here, then resume and we can move on. If there's some reason why you can't make this, you don't need to do this to complete this project. It'll just add a little bit more pizzazz to it. So I also, using the memo on the iPhone, using that app, I trimmed out some extra space that was on the front leading edge of it so you can get it to fire right away. So there's no real pause. It just says whatever you're going to say. In this case, I said, toaster-nator. And once you've added this file to your source directory, let's pick it up from there. So if you can't create this for any reason, just move on. We can move on and you can just watch what happens. So let's open the toasters file. Okay, so the toasters with an S down here. We're going to open up this file. We're going to go to the initialize function. All right, there we go, initialize function. And just under set toasters count, let's add the following. Okay, so we're going to go down here under toasters count. I'm going to give a little bit of line there, and we're going to say const audio. And can you guess what the audio is going to be? We need to make a new DOM element. And we're not going to use the normal DOM element to do this. We're going to say new audio. That's what we want. And we're going to pass in the path to our file. And to do that, we're talking about where's toasters.js? Well, it's in this directory. This is the current directory of this file. So to look in the current directory, all we have to do is // If we needed to go up to the source directory, up one level, which would be what this one's located in, which is our toaster directory, then we could get the README file or any files that are in this one. So make sure that you're in the source directory with your file. If not, if you were one level up, you'd get it by 2 dots. And this is how we go up, 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 up. We don't need to do that though. So we're right here in the relative current directory, which is the source. And we're just going to denote the name of the file. So mine is toaster, sure I have this right, nator.m4a. So is that right? toaster-nator.m4a. So this should be it, semicolon, extra line there. Now we can talk to the audio that we created. So we're going to say audio, and we have a bunch of things the browser gives us, and we're going to say playback rate. Now, we might be firing a bunch at a time, and so we have to set the playback rate. So all we're going to do is we're going to say parentheses math random. So we're going to use our favorite math random function, and we're going to say +1. And that's going to give us 1 point something. So we're going to have a little bit varied playback rate when it's firing. And then the second thing we need to do is audio play, semicolon. And that's it. That's all we have to do to create our audio element. We're not attaching it to the DOM. And then we're going to actually set the playback rate to be slightly variable. So this could be anywhere from 0.0 all the way up to, well, it can be 0.999, I guess. Oops, something like that. And so that's how we can get kind of the varied rate, because we can put decimals into our playback rate. So that's good here. And then we have audio play. Again, 3 things. Just add the file, do these 3 things right above the toaster toast. So let me just focus on a couple things real quick. I have closed my Explorer there. I just noticed a couple issues on my typos. So we have audio. You can see it's a different color blue than here. So one thing is there's a spelling mistake right there for myself. So that's audio. Now this is matching. I can highlight it and I can see yes, yes, yes. That's all spelled good. And notice right here, this playback rate is going to fire as a function because I happen to put these in parentheses. But this needs to be right here. You're going to do an equals space. This is just a property on the audio object. So audio playback rate with a capital R equals the sum of math random +1. And they're just in parentheses. It just happens to be that way, like that. I just like to close them and I know it's inside the parentheses. Hey, that's one specific piece of logic for me. But you can run into that error where if I did it this way, it's going to run playback rate as a function, even with that space there. So that's not what we want. We want equals math random +1. So there we go. Make that correction, please. And then if you didn't already, audio, spell that correct, as I did not originally. So let's go ahead and save our work here. And now I believe we can head over to the browser. Make sure we have all our saved files. Let's open up the browser. We're going to go File, Open File, View HTML, open it up. And here we go. We can see our created by, and this should be your name right here. And we have everything set up. Let's just make sure this is turned up the best that we can. And let's go ahead and hit start and see what happens. The clock should be, oh. Okay, that was 5 of them that just filed.
Toaster-nator.
All right, that's 1 at a time. 2 comes in. You can see they're slightly off a little bit, so that's our playback rate happening. We've got our toast firing down here. Yes, yes, toaster-nator, you're alive. Keep going, keep making the toast. Look at our count up here, total toasted, 47, 49 active toasters. We have 27 active toasters. Let's just let it run. Let its beauty run if you have this running. Let the toaster-nator run. Okay, what else can we see that's going on here? I'm going to open up one more thing here to inspect and make sure toaster is ready to fine. I'm going to hit stop real quick so we can get rid of that. Is this happening for you? I noticed they're not leaving. So reference error toaster is not defined. So let's just go to the error itself and say, I can already see what happened. Can you see it? This is a great example of being in here. We look, toaster is not defined. Toaster, we did some work, remember, in the toaster file. And what did we do? We moved this set timeout. And in doing so, toaster was moved from toasters, where it did have a variable, into a file that is the toaster. So what do you think we have to do looking at this right now? This property is set on this. Now we're talking about this. So let's move back over there and make this correction right here. So this would be this, this, and this, and then we should be okay. So I'm going to leave this open for now. Mind you, look at the beauty of the start and stop buttons, because if we're fixing this and it was still on start, it would just be firing toaster-nator again, and again, and again. So boom, we hit stop. We can come back over here. I'm going to open up my Explorer and open up toaster.js. And let's go ahead and actively troubleshoot this. It's in our process method, which was up here. Okay, so I can see my process right here. I can see my curly brace. Let's just scroll down. So there it was right there. That used to be, if you remember, const toaster equals, and that's why that was working in the other file. But here we moved it, and in doing so, this should have been changed to, confusingly, this again, because this is the actual. Let's just make these changes and then I'll show you here. So this. You see any more here? The completed pass in, clear timeout's part of JavaScript. The timeout is right up here. So this class list, this, of course, all of these things, we didn't create these. They're given to us by the browser, because this is this class, which is an extension of HTML element, which already has all of these properties on it, which is why we can make a connected callback method, because this is already on this element. So when we make our own, it'll do what we want it to do. So this is probably just a blank method that is on that one already. Okay, that's why everything becomes this now, because we're talking about a class instance. And we're like, well, which class instance? Well, it doesn't matter. Whatever one we're talking to at the time, that's the one that's going to be turned on, and that's the one that's going to be used. So let's go ahead and save our work here. And we're going to go back over here. And we can't just hit start. We have to refresh, because we want the new file to be loaded by our view HTML. All right, so I'm going to leave this open for a minute, and let's see if we can start and make sure our toaster. Man, right there in your face. There it is. Active toasters. I don't see. Let's see. Let's make sure they're dissolving. That's the problem that we were running into. Oh, I saw that one dissolve at the end of their mission. There they go. There's a little bit of time delay that we put in there. And that one's being led away. This one's being led away. So that's all working, and we're not getting our console log. And so we can just, in grand fashion, we can look at this. So these projects, this project series applications, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. This is going to get crazy here. These project series applications can become quite complex and display quite a bit of knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In future projects, I'll show you how to save these projects using a cloud repository. So keep all your projects in good working order. So if you are going to make changes to it, copy your file that you're going to make changes to and make a backup first. That way you can go ahead and experiment all you want, and then you can always come back to the original. And what you can do is, now that you have created by and you have your name, you have all these different projects, and everyone knows how we learn programming. It's okay that you went to a project, did what you were asked to do, and then built it. Because if you can sit there and you can explain everything that's going on in a project, even though you built this project off of a video like this or anything else. This is what people look for in employment. So if you went somewhere and you had this repository of the more the merrier of these projects, and you could run them for them right there in the browser, and you could explain the code base, which is small enough where you can get through it in an interview and you explain this is what this is doing. If I change this, I can do this. This is what's going to land you a job programming. And whatever anyone else says, AI is not about to take over programming right now. It'll be there to help us. That's it. So when you can show up for a development interview and show off a few tutorials like this one and explain everything like I said, it will give you a huge advantage over the competition. Once again, we have reached the end of our EZCODE project series, toaster-nator. If Let's get that back on. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button and then subscribe to get notifications of new content. Thank you for exploring programming with me, and I will see you in the next video, Toasternators.